Picture a world where women were not given the same athletic and academic opportunities as their male counterparts. A mere 50 years ago, this was the case in America. However, an act signed by President Nixon would change the course of women's rights forever.
Over the last 50 years, Title IX has paved the way for millions of girls and women to access equal opportunity in our nation's schools. This has also been instrumental in combating sexual assault and sexual violence in educational settings.
So Title IX is one of those interesting pieces of legislation. So in 1972, it was a piece of legislation that came about to make sure that there was no sex discrimination in any educational setting or program that received financial funding from the federal government. And luckily for me, I've been able to study that piece of legislation in my educational pursuits. And then as I started as a young professional, I had a lot of opportunities to work and become more educated with different workshops on how we can actually implement the Title IX legislation in a meaningful way here on our college campuses.
In the athletics realm, many former female warriors have laid the groundwork for the success of our current student athletes. One such particular warrior, Dasha Shaluru, left a lasting legacy at Wayne State.
She was a female swimmer who participated on our men's team in actually 1972 to 1973 is when she lettered, and I think she lettered in 1973 and 74 as well. She went to the NCAA championships, so she kind of catapulted a very historical moment for Wayne State, but specifically for Title IX because it showed that equal access and opportunity to sporting opportunities, or really anything within an educational setting, is paramount.
According to the NCAA, an institution can comply with Title IX in any one of three ways. The proportion of female student athletes is equivalent to the proportion of female undergraduate students. The institution is expanding opportunities for female student athletes, or the institution is accommodating the interest of female student athletes.
So if you look specifically at the collegiate level, participation in sport has increased astronomically. So from about 15% before Title IX to about 44% for women at the collegiate level. So that's kind of like the sport aspect of it, right? But then also understanding, because it is a piece of legislation that's based upon sex discrimination, also letting people know that there's a whole nother side of it, and it's not just about sport.
So for a long time, the perception of the public was that Title IX related to gender equity in athletics. In 2011, during the Obama administration, the Dear Colleague letter went out, and the Dear Colleague letter spoke to Title IX enforcements on college campuses related to sexual misconduct.
Sexual violence is the most prevalent crime on college campuses. Almost 2/3 of all college students say they have experienced sexual harassment on campus, and 1 in 5 women report being sexually assaulted while in college.
So we have two sides to this. It is the implementation, it is the addressing the misconduct, but it's also creating a culture of consent, a culture of understanding, a culture of shared responsibility. The university is committed to the well-being of our students, and certainly Title IX is part of the importance of well-being.
I think women have a voice in sports now, and that we need to continue hearing it. We need to continue to be loud about it. We need to continue talking about it and ensuring that everybody knows as much as they can about Title IX and women and what all we've been through, what all Wayne State women's athletics have been through, who paved the way for women in sports.
The evolution of it, again, we would not be nearly as far without some of those great pioneers, but we also still have a little bit of lag with the legislation and what that looks like for Black, Indigenous, and people of color as far as participation goes at the collegiate level, people in administration, as well as coaches.
As student athletes, most notably student female athletes, it's important that we understand and empathize the importance of Title IX, and this way we can ensure the safety of all students from discrimination. Knowing how this legislation affects our daily life is a major component in how equality affects our nation.